of philosophy family. Friends, I extend a very hearty welcome to all of you, those are connected with the philosophy family for the cause of philosophical reflection, philosophizing, and philosophical discussion. And we are passing through a very critical time. The corona pandemics has taken crores of life of our country, and we have also lost the many more philosophers from us. Those have connected with us for a long time. We offer our deep sense of a condolence for them. They have many contributions for the cause of philosophy reflection of our country. So on this occasion, we are arranging our webinar for the noble cause of the students of philosophy, the scholars of philosophy, and the teachers of philosophy of our country. And I also bow down my head before all the senior teachers and professors of philosophy of our country. Those are connected with us, and they have cooperated us. They have contributed their valuable talks for the cause of philosophy. We record their sincere participation and discussion. And today we have invited one of the very popular scholars of philosophy, Professor Dr. Tapati Chakravarti. We, on behalf of philosophy family, welcome Madam. Today, she will speak on the topic religious harmony. Today, we have with us Dr. K. Omnaran Rao. He will give the synopsis after the talk of the madam. And today, I also welcome our admin, our convener, our host, Professor Pramod Kumar Das. Today, he will moderate the interactive session. I welcome him. I also welcome all the teachers, students, and scholars of philosophy of some faces of some senior professors, Professor Ranjit Ghosh, Professor Rajkesh Sahu, and many more faces. I welcome them to our academic program. But before the talk of Dr. Tapati Chakrabarti, it's my honor to present a few words towards our academic and co-academic excellence. Dr. Tapati Chakrabarti is now working at the head of the Department of Art and Culture, Vinod Bihari Mohata Provincial University and Dhanbad. Being a person of virtue and simplicity, for perseverance and hard work are means to achieve such position in the university, and coupled with impressive career, Dr. Tapati Chakrabarti is working in the University Department of Philosophy as an assistant professor of philosophy for more than 1 decade. Dr. Tapati Chakrabarti was introduced for the first time to us in the month of July when we were organizing ICPR sponsored International Yoga Day. And Dr. Chakrabarti served as also a guest faculty in ISM and Dhanbad in the Department of Humanities and Social Science. She has been invited as speaker for various national and international seminars and conferences, and She was also invited to Indian Philosophical Congress for delivering a endowment lecture. To her credits, Dr. Tapati Chakrabarti has written a couple of books and written for various journals and proceedings of national and international repute. Dr. Chakrabarti received many awards that is in the international conference. Particularly, she has obtained award on the above World Thinkers and Writers Peace Meet in 2015. You know, she's a very popular writer and creative performer in her state, and she has shown her commendable creativity on many cultural platforms. And Dr. Chakrabarti is also a member of University Academic Council. She is also a member of University Research Council. She is a life member of Indian Philosophical Congress, life member of ICSR, life member of Akhil Bharatiya Darshan Parishad, Akhil Bharatiya Darshan Mahila Darshan Parishad, Akhil Bharatiya Darshan Parishad, and she has proved her creativity in many stages, both in cultural and academic forums, and she is very known, very popular to us for her innovative way of speaking, for delivering, and way of looking at the things. We offer our pranam to Madam Chakrabarti, and today Madam has honored us, and I also welcome all the participants to be with us in this pandemic times. And we also offer, at the outset, I offer my gratitude, Madam, for giving consent to be with us on this critical time. Okay, over to Madam. Over to Madam.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. I do not have any words to say about so many things you have told about me, so many qualities you have added. Thank you so much. Pranam and a very good evening to all. First of all, I start with my condolences whoever left from our philosophy family. My condolences to them, my deep condolences to them. And before I begin, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to deliver this talk. A very special thanks indeed to Dr. Pramod Kumar Das sir, because it was his phone call this time that I received inviting me to deliver this talk. And respected coordinator of this webinar, Dr. Kailash Chandra Maurana sir, HOD Philosophy, Balugaon College, Odisha. And respected convener, host and moderator, Professor Pramod Kumar Das sir, Head Department of Philosophy, Nayagarh Auto College, Odisha. And respected Dr. K. Om Narayan Rao sir, Assistant Professor, Department of Philosophy, Niranjan Government Women's College, Aska, Odisha. And the entire philosophy family, whoever is associated with this webinar, I bow before all. All respected members associated with philosophy family, all the respected professors, my most beloved research scholars and the students around. The topic I had chosen to speak on is religious harmony, but added to it a special reference Swami Vivekananda and Dr. S. Radhakrishnan. Joy. Before I start with a prayer. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidya Arambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Mesada. Joy. So towards religious harmony, with a special reference to Swami Vivekananda and Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, I start with a question. Can you name any place, may it be a state or a nation or a country, that is totally free from any kind of differences and is at perfect peace? I know the answer I would get is no. Very true. Because each or every we find to be plagued by, say, some kind of dissensions or radical movements. And we notice a general deterioration that is common, that has enveloped the societies. And that is mainly deterioration in, say, morals, in truth, in knowledge, moreover in spiritual faculties. We know each one is endowed with. But I know you will agree to me to the fact that every age, every generation has blessed us with such elevated personalities of men and women who stood alone against this overwhelming pressures and ready to embrace death. And that was possible only because they were bestowed or endowed with the strength of character, of purity, and trust on the Creator who created them. So don't you think we, each one of us, should take upon a responsibility to at least guide the community or guide the people of the society in the right direction? Because we have seen that more compassionate a society, happier its members are. And again, we have seen that the significant role has to be played by the religious traditions. Why? Because it is religion which teaches its followers be better human beings, practice humanity, compassion, kindness, generosity, concern for others, and love for each other. Now, being amidst the crisis of COVID-19, where the present we find so turbulent, so terrible, and future scary, frightening, intimidating. Thus, don't you think the basic need is to realize a concealed greatness that we all possess. That is humanity, which is said to be the foundation of any society. And love for each other, that we are blessed by the religions. These need to be taken into account to heal the sufferings of our fellow beings. Because man's social life started with religion because it binds up man in harmonious social life, and it is believed that religion is an attempt to bring man to God with a view to develop all good and godly qualities in man. So purpose of religion was to bind man together to bring about social life, to develop cooperation, mindfulness, helpfulness, and all these social senses for living a peaceful social life. I'm reminded of the words of Swami Vivekananda. He said, I quote, that religion is the idea which is raising the brute unto man and man unto God. Again, he asserts that each soul is potentially divine and goal of life is to manifest this divinity within. Again, I quote, religion is the manifestation of the divinity already in man. So what Swamiji believed is that perfection is not to be attained. It's already there. Immortality, bliss, not to be acquired. We possess them already. And witnesses his words, that is, he said, I quote, within ourselves is the eternal voice speaking of eternal freedom. And this music is eternally going on. And part of the music of the soul has become the earth, the law, the universe, but it's always there and always will be. In a very lucid way, Swamiji explains, I quote, try to be pure and unselfish. And that is the whole of religion, he says. Moreover, Swamiji also said, I quote, the secret of religion lies not in theory, but practice. To be good and to do good. That is the whole of religion. Again, I'm reminded of his words when he said, I quote, do you remember what the Bible says? If you cannot love your brother man, the manifested God, how can you worship God who is unmanifested? If you cannot see God in human face, how can you see him in the clouds, in images made of dull and dead matter, or mere fictitious stories of your brain? How can you? And we find in Gita also, I quote, he that sees one God existing everywhere cannot injure another, who is his own self, and so attains the highest good. So don't you think each one is saying the presence of the divine within us? As Buddha has said, each one has essentials of enlightenment. Jesus said, there's a kingdom of God within you. Hazrat Muhammad has said, God is nearer to you than the artery of your neck. Hindus say, that thou art. So what are they? Each one is affirming the presence of the divinity within each one of us. Again, I'm reminded of the words of Swami Vivekananda when he said, the second idea that I learned from my master, which is perhaps the most vital, is the wonderful truth that the religions of the world are not contradictory or antagonistic. They are but the various phases of one eternal religion, and this religion is expressing itself in various countries in various ways. Therefore, we must respect all religions and we must accept them all as far as we can. Unquote. These were the words of wisdom, words of knowledge we need to remember always. Do you think the values generated from religion has been used only to unite mankind? Or are you noticing dividing mankind? When we all know and should know that different religions are the different pathways leading to the same supreme reality or the same supreme goal. Swami Vivekananda said, I quote, every religion helps us to reach the divine. Yes, though we believe that though religion has brought happiness, has given compassion and love, taught us all everything, but nothing is there that has engendered even fiercer horror than it. Yes, we all agree, we all know. But is it because of the belief of some people, ignorant people, that their own religion is superior to the rest of? Or do you think each religion is true, isn't it? All cater to the needs of religious persons. All lead to the same supreme goal. Again, I would like to quote Swami Vivekananda in this context. As he said, I quote, I do not simply say I tolerate religion. That is an insult to God. I accept all religions, I worship all religions, and every religion which help us to reach God and to realize His nature is something which is dear to me. And I'm not ready to reject any of them. I would like to quote again Dr. Radhakrishnan too, as he said, I quote, that all religions are founded on the personal experiences of the seers who become directly aware of an infinite spiritual presence beyond and within the range of the world of change and succession. The personal experience of union with absolute reality of God has been a common and continuous feature of all faiths of mankind. Moreover, Dr. Radhakrishnan also writes in his book, Eastern Religion and Western Thought, he has written, I quote, to penetrate to the heart of civilization, we ought to study the secret springs of thought, its religious ideas. Religion has been from the beginning bearer of human culture. So he says, modern man understands by religion only religion of rites, religion of rituals, religion of dogmas, not religion of the spirit. But anyway, these rites and rituals are not outrightly rejected as meaningless things, Dr. Radhakrishnan, because they are also meaningful, because they help go deeper and comprehend this, or apprehend, sorry, the spirituality. And rites and rituals, the spirit of religion negatively implies not religion of dogmas, religion of rites and rituals, which constitutes the external framework and distinguishes one religion from the other, but positively their essential spirituality, because of which there is oneness in them. Moreover, we do accept that each religions differ from one another on many a number of factors. But at the same time, so far as human values are concerned, don't you think there is similarity? For example, you find a Rig Vedic statement, a very common. We often use it, often quote it. That is, I quote, Ekam Sat Viprabhuta Vadanti. Truth is one, sage is called by various names. Again, when you turn around the pages of Quran, you find confirmed the statements. This statement. That which says, this that I am now uttering unto you, within the ancient seers writing too. For the teachers have been sent to every race of human beings. No community is left without a warner and a guide. An aught of difference we do not make. For disagreement, there is none twixt them. Between those prophets, all they have been so sent, but one truth to proclaim. There is no other God than I. Unquote. Again, we find Sri Sri Thakur Bhavapagla, who believed that music is one of the Shreshta Sadhana. In his words, Gani Shorvo Shreshta Sadhana. Unquote. In one of his songs he wrote, I would like to share with you, as he said, Horikunti tomar ashul naam, kohi tomare. তোমায় যে যা বলে তাইতে মেলো চিনতে নারী ব্যবহারে. That is, Hari or God, which is your real name? Which name should I address you with? You respond to any name that I call you. And the same again you find in Bhagavad Gita, where Shri Krishna tells to Arjuna, I quote, to all one goal are marching everywhere. To all human beings. Though they may seem to walk on divergent paths, that goal am I. Again, you find when you turn around the pages of Adi Granth Sahib of Sikhism, it has been said, I quote, there is a statement, I quote, एक ओंकार सतनाम करता पूरक, निरुभव निरवैर अकाल मूरत, अजूनी सैभम गुरु प्रसाद जप। आद सच जुगाद सच है भी सच, नानक होसी भी सच। That is, this being is one. He is eternal, creator of all things, immanent in all things, sustainer of all things. He is immanent in his creation. He is without enmity, without. Again, in Bhagavad Gita or a Rigvedic statement is there which says, Devanam Danavam Kasamanyam Adhidevatam. What is that? Devas and Danavas, they also worship the same. And again in St. John's Gospel, you find a statement which goes thus. I quote, all that is noble by the words of God, that is to say by Jesus, Christ, Isa, and Plato, Zoroaster, and the Buddha, Confucius, conceived and uttered such truth as they declared. There is only one divine light. And every man in his measure is enlightened by it. Again, we find a Sufi saint, a famous Sufi saint, Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi. I would like to quote his words, and he said, I quote, by loving wisdom doth soul know life. What has it got to do with the senseless strife of the Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Arab, or Turk? Again, a statement I remember. I would like to share with you. That is of Sri Sri Thakur Prabhupada. In again one of his songs, he writes, I quote, ওরে মানুষ দেখবি যদি ভগবান ছেড়ে দে তোর হিংসা বৃত্তি, ওই তো বিঘ্ন অতি প্রধান। ছেড়ে দে তোর ভিন্ন ভেদ, দেখ না শাস্ত্র, দেখ না বেদ, বাইবেল কোরআন নয় রে প্রভেদ। Such beautiful words. That's how he addresses to mankind. How? He says, if you want to see God, leave your envy. That is the main obstacle. Leave the distinctions aside. Look at the Shastras, look at the Vedas. Bible, Quran, they are non-distinct. Again, we find a statement that is in Vishnu Dharmottara Puran that has been said, I quote, he who listens to the words of Dharma, he who revers to all gods without intolerance, he who has conquered prejudices, and hatred obtains the favor of Vishnu. So what is required is spiritual orientation. It is something that is spiritual orientation. But indeed, we are happy that and thankful to the Almighty that religion is helping to restore the same social sense what it once did. As we find not caring about the distinctions, each man has come out to help each other. In this pandemic, COVID-19 crisis. So I end up with a prayer to the Almighty. Sarve bhavantu sukhena, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashantu, ma kaschit dukha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you so much.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Thanks so much, Madam Chakrabarti, for your insightful deliberation on the religious harmony. Through your novel way of a presentation, you have reflected the essence of religions, which lies in the deepest wisdom of all ages and eternal mystery of life. By citing the wisdom of Swami Vivekananda, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, Sri Thakur Anukula Chandra, Bhagavad Gita, and many more sacred scriptures of different religions, you have presented the true essence of religious harmony. How each and every religion contains the same truth, the secret of life. I don't want to reflect on anything of your speech. Dr. K. Omnaran Rao, the assistant professor, Niranjan Government Women's College, Aska, Odisha, is with us, and he has written so many articles on religion and religious harmony. May I request Dr. K. Omnaran Rao to give to present a synopsis on the talk of Dr. Tapasya Chakrabarti, today's speaker. Over to Dr. Rao. Over
Thank
to
you,
Dr.
sir.
Rao.
Thank you, Dr. Mahana, and also thank the speaker for being so precise and clear on the subject. Now it's a nice lecture. As you see, she has touched nearly all elements that constitute what we say a religious harmony. So it's a nice lecture. Now I have the responsibility of synopsizing what she has said. So if I look into her entire talk, she starts with an assertion that there are diversities, there are disturbances that we find, that we experience in this world, and the religions even taking if you look into the religions also, we find certain diversities in views and opinions, but in spite of this differences, actually she wants to assert that the differences that we find in religions, they're actually not the differences, they're actually a sort of superficial differences that emerge out of the interpretations of a limited man. But I just see from a lecture that at the core, all the religions are fundamentally one and the same. They assert the same thing. The goal is one, and the truth is one. It is because of the superficial interpretations from different standpoints of different religions that there are tussles, that there are problems, that there are contradictions that we see. But we look at the core of each of the religions, they assert one and the same thing. So she says, by making a reference to Swami Vivekananda, she says that man is essentially divine, and the purpose of religion is to manifest that element of divinity in man. So religion has this work to do, to manifest divinity in man. Okay, so taking this into account, she makes a statement that if man is not able to see, or religion is not able to see God in man, then religion would not be capable of explaining God or the element of divinity that we find in every aspect and creation of God. Now she says, well, making reference to various Sufi saints and from Sikhism, from some Buddhism, and from Hinduism. So she tries to say certain elements that are the causes behind the religious disturbances, mainly because of intolerance towards each other's religions, and that is basically due to the non-understanding of a religion. What is religion? Actually, all religions, though they assert the same thing, the problem lies in understanding by a common man. The people touch at the external facets of religion and assume as if that is the only aspect of religion. That's why the difference is. Otherwise, all the religions are fundamentally one. Now, so it's a time for all of us to think of the religions in a broader sense, taking religions in a broader context, and elevating from the lower interpretations to moving to a sort of higher interpretation, where we find a sort of parity in all religions. Well, externally there may be certain differences between religions, but these differences should be taken with a sense of patching the differences, rather than taking these differences as basis for passion and religious disharmony. So, but this requires one more thing that he said. As I could get, well, one may be adhering to a particular religion of his choice. Well, he has a choice of a particular religion, but at the same time, one has to expand his boundaries to reach to other religions, to see what others do, so that there can be a mutual give and take on all sides. That is, I practice a particular religion, but at the same time, I see what others practice, and also openly look into their customs, their beliefs, and inculcate the same in my own religion, so that there can be a holistic view of religion rather than a tussle of religions. And that would contribute a sort of harmony in the society. Now, one more thing she has said, that the truth claims that we can find in different religions, they are not false. They are not false. From a particular standpoint, those truth claims, they stand, and we need to respect the stands taken by different religions from different standpoints. Well, she takes that there are multiple paths to God. There are multiple paths. Each religion may be having a particular path to reach one and that only one source. Paths may be different, because that the paths are different. We interpret religions in different ways. So that is actually meaningless, and that would contribute to disharmony. Even in the Hindu context, we can have a number of paths to reaching a God. Say, somebody may take a Jnana Marga to reach God, some may take a Karma Marga to reach God, or some may adhere to Bhakti Marga, or some may Dhyana Marga. So the margas to reach God may differ within a particular religion. So why do we dishonor the path to God taken by people belonging to different religions? The paths may differ, but the reality to which all the religions are moving is one and the same. So to have a sort of harmony, one should realize that no religion is inferior or superior. What we need to see is a sort of humanity adding up to religion, so that our religions turned out to be complete. What is missing in our religion is, well, man is, as you said, by referring to Vivekananda, that man is divine within, and religion helps in manifesting that divine. But somehow that is missing in understanding religion. So what I see is, if you take humanism and combine with religion, I see a sort of sarvodaya, a sort of elevation of human beings. That means, I mean to say that religion plus humanity combined leads to sarvodaya. Religion plus humanity brings about sarvodaya, and religion minus humanity will lead to sarvanasha. So if you talk of disharmony, if you talk of chaos, it is because of the elimination of the element of humanity in religion that is bringing about chaos and disharmony. So we need to practice a sort of human element in religion, so that our religion can contribute to the sarvodaya, or the benefit of all concerned. So if you take Swami Vivekananda, who's talked of a universal religion doesn't mean a particular religion, rather than expanding the scope and boundary of each of the religions to reach all, to inculcate all, to practice the best that we have in all religions. May say, for example, we can practice, when all religions nearly speak of, say, love, charity, compassion, purity, chastity, self-control, but a certain aspect, a certain virtue may be taken in a greater sense in one religion, and some other aspect or some other virtue in some other religion. So to say, the virtues are all contained in each of the religions. But say, for example, if you take a look at Jainism, they focus more on non-violence or ahimsa, and basing on that, they construct the entire structure of their religious values. If you look at Buddhism, compassion, and on Hinduism, if we focus, they focus on dharma. And Islam, for instance, they focus on obedience. And if you look at Christianity, they focus on love for all creatures. So virtues are there. They focus on a particular virtue in different religions, and we need to see those virtues in a greater light, and we need to inculcate the different values contained in different religions into our own system, so that we can expand our boundaries to reach to other religions, so that there can be a greater tolerance on our part to reach to human beings. Religion, actually, the aspect of religion, the purpose of religion is to bind people for the good of all, for the welfare of all. So if we extend a sense of humanity along with religion, or from a religious standpoint, we can have a world where everybody is benefited. There will be a sarvodaya. But if you eliminate this human element and take religion in a piecemeal, in a narrow sense, then there will be a destruction of not only of my own religion, but also humanity at large, and the society at large. So it is the need of the hour to inculcate the virtue of humanity in us, and go in the line of religion, so that religion can be a platform for humanity to contribute to the benefit of all. So these are the things that basically constitute the lecture. What I see, the fundamental elements that constitute the lecture of Dr. Tapati Chakravarti. So very nice lecture. Thank you, madam, for your lecture. Thank you for being a part of Philosophy Family and delivering this lecture. Thank you very much. So now over to Dr. Kailas Mahanasa for carrying on the further proceedings.
Okay, thanks so much, Dr. Rao, for your nice synopsis and observation on the talk of Dr. Tapati Chakravarti, madam. Dr. Rao, we have come across your book on philosophy of religion, where you have made conceptual clarification of all these aspects that you have explored today. And at last, you have told that how religion is a platform of humanity. That is, you have really done justice to the talk of the madam, and you have your synopsis is a justice to madam's talk. And let me now invite Professor Pramod Kumar Das, our admin and convener of Philosophy Family, for moderating the introductory session. Over to Professor Pramod Kumar Das. Over to Professor Pramod Kumar Das.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Actually, this was a very wonderful session. and Madam spoke very beautifully about religious harmony, and Dr. Rao gave a beautiful synopsis of the talk of Madam. Before starting the moderator session, I shall invite Ranjit Ghosh sir to give some remark of his own view or observation on this topic.
Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes,
Sir,
you're
audible.
audible.
Thank you. Thank you. So, the lecture was lecture by Dr. Chakravarti was very nice, and also Dr. Rao added 2 more points. And the thing is, everything centers around the concept of harmony. That is what I believe, because religion, it is the truth. We know Vivekananda has said, or Radhakrishnan has also said that they both of them accept that the same thing, that ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. So all the religions, they are coming from a single source. That is what Radhakrishnan believed, and so also by giving this sense to his doctrine of universal religion, Vivekananda has taken it in that way. Now the thing is, the question centers around the harmony. Okay, so harmony, what it is actually? Is it unity in diversity? Is it Gandhian concept of Sarva Dharma Samanata? Or is it something which is giving a type of uniform relationship, uniformity? So what it is? Now one thing is clear, that harmony that we are talking about, so far as religious harmony is concerned, it is harmony without uniformity, because every religion, they are to be given equal importance, and in this we have seen on several occasions, some religions try to supersede over others. We know these days we are I'm giving you one example. These days we are discussing Maulana Azad in our course. So he was the first education minister of India, as you know, and his date of birth, 11th November, is taken as the in education day for all of us. Now, but you see, he was a staunch, rigid Islamic scholar during his earlier days, and he tried to always prove the superiority of the religion Islam. But subsequently, he changed his mind, and on latter occasions, he tried to come closer rather to the Gandhian concept because of his association with Gandhi. Now, the thing is, uniformity is one thing and harmony is another thing. Rather, Dr. Rao, since he has worked on it, he has seen we have to give one humanistic approach, and also the concept of tolerance also will play an important role here. So because in a globalized world, we see the so many religions that we see here, but we have to we cannot just try to prove the supremacy of one religion. Suppose we are believer in Hindutva and Hindu religion, but we should not try to impose it over others. And that was also the view of the Savarkar. Savarkar never wanted that the entire India be saffronized. Okay, so that is the trouble with these days thinkers. They are having this myopic view of this religious attitude of these great scholars, and we see today the manifestation in the election of West Bengal. This much I have to say. Thank you.
nice observation. I shall request Madam to give her response over it, if she wants.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Because weather is horribly off. It's raining here. I could not get the voice clearly. The network is giving a problem. Sometimes I can hear and sometimes I cannot. So half of the thing I don't think can get the full, you cannot get the full answer out of it. I wanted to hear, I tried a lot, but could not.
All right,
It's
all
like-
right. I'm repeating now.
But
Now
what I want to say is, I just
shall I
do
repeat?
not know what I could understand. I do not know whether I could understand or get the things what exactly you're saying, because are you saying me something? Sorry.
No,
Can I-
I want to harp on only one point. That is, harmony is not
Are
uniformity.
you saying something?
Yes, harmony is not uniformity. Only an empathy can help us in establishing religious harmony, or else religious harmony will be an ethical myth. This is what I want to say.
Okay. To this point, I do not know. Even now, it was not very clear. Anyway, what I feel is, what I want to add, I do not know whether I'm answering the same thing or not. Hello? Hello, can you listen?
Okay, madam.
You
Now
get my voice? Hello?
yes, madam.
Can you hear me?
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam, clear, very clear.
Yes.
Now I may request Dr. Rao speak some words. Remark of Dr.
Yes, madam, continue. We can hear you.
Okay. But Dr. Radhakrishnan was a firm believer in spiritual reality, in which all mankind is one, anchored in the reality of the spirit. He advocates what he calls the religion of the spirit. And that's what I mentioned. Religion of the spirit. What is that? Religion of the spirit implies negatively not religion of dogmas, religion of rites or rituals, which constitutes the external framework, but positively the essential spirituality, because of which there is oneness in them. And that oneness is, don't you think that oneness is required? And that everything that is, if you have that oneness, humanity also will be there, compassion will be there, love will be there, love for each other will be there, concern for each other will be there. Hello? Hello?
Yes, it is audible to you. Yeah, all of us. Okay. You continue, madam.
We are able to hear you, madam. Continue. We are able to hear you. Continue, madam.
What are they saying?
Perhaps fails to hear.
Probably she is disconnected. No voice is coming.
Dr. Rao, please give your remark on the response of Dr. Ghosh, sir.
Yes, as I could see, Professor Dr. Ghosh is very much right in saying that empathy has a vital role in bringing about religious harmony. Well, you practice your own religion, you have the freedom to practice your own religion, there is no issue over it, but you need to come out with a sense of tolerance, a sense of mutual understanding of each other's religions, so that we can reach to we can cross the boundaries of our own individual religions to see what other religions are practicing, and try to be one with them. Well, what we see in religions is a particular religion may be focusing on a particular virtue, but they are focusing, what is important to say is they are focusing on a human value. Some system may be focusing on a particular value and some system may be on other. whatever it may be, they all contribute to human goodness, human well-being. So we need to transcend. We should not limit. Whenever we talk of religion, the problem that lies with us is that we confine ourselves to the boundaries and we try to limit us. There is a need to expand. We need to transcend the boundaries to move into other religions as a thinker, as a philosopher of religion, to see what good things other religions are practicing, and at the same time trying to inculcate those elements in your own particular religion. So in the same manner, other religions can do this. So in the process of give and take, there will be an expansion of boundaries of every religion, and someday may come where all religions find a parity with one another. But that requires a mindset of every person connected with different religion to come forward and see what other religions are doing, and also have a spirit of carrying in or inculcating the good things of others. So if we do that, if there is a mutual give and take, I can see the sort of empathy flowing in naturally. There is no artificial empathy. Empathy flows in naturally to be one with every religion, and that would contribute to religious harmony that Professor Ranjit Gosda was speaking about. So empathy then would be not artificial. It could be a natural outcome of your own mindset from your own religion to transcend the boundaries of your religion, of your own religion, and finding what other religions are doing, and with a sense of tolerance to other religions, with a sense of mutual respect for other religions, that would help really to build up a harmonious society. And that would, I think, would contribute a lot to the human values, to the human system, and more importantly, human well-being. Thank you. This is what I feel. Thank you. Over to Pramod Das, sir.
Can I speak two or three sentences from my side? If I am allowed by Dr. Kailash Chandramana, sir.
Yes. Okay. Oh, please tell, please.
The point is philosophy, science, and religion. These three are the human possibilities, and these three disciplines are engaged in order to explore the truth. In order to explore the truth, and in order to understand the cardinal values. What I mean to say, the ultimate truth truth is truth. No religion can change it. Similarly, cardinal values are values which are same in all religions. No religion can compromise with the cardinal values like love, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance. These are common to all religions. No religion can compromise with these values. Similarly, science, philosophy, religion cannot compromise with the truth. Interpretations may vary. Our approaches may vary. Scientific approach is different from philosophical approach and religious approach. Philosophical approach is based upon reason. Scientific approach is based upon experiment, and religious approach is based upon faith. So when man fails to experiment certain truths in laboratory, he starts speculating and philosophy takes place. When he is not satisfied with speculation, and speculations vary from person to person, system to system, he takes the resort of faith. And faith is the asset of religion. So there are many religions, and all religions are based upon faith, and faith is also one of the instrument, human instrument, that we, as we cannot know the truths, all truths in laboratory, or we cannot even speculate about the ultimate truth in a harmonious way, at least we can believe, at least we can have a faith in the ultimate reality. So that leads to mysticism. That mystic point cannot be experimented in a scientific laboratory, and may be speculated, but speculations vary from person to person. But so far as our faith is concerned, we are very comfortable, because my faith is my faith, and the faith of the different religious people and people of different religious communities are very private, and there is no problem at all. But so far as religion is concerned, we can divide religion into two parts: theism and atheism. Atheism is also religion. Religion does not mean that we believe in God. Believing in God is one type of religion, that is called theism. And there are many religions, they do not believe in the existence of God. But then if they vary this way, that some religions may believe in God, existence of God, and some religions do not believe in God. If they differ in this way, now the question is, in which way they maintain harmony? Religions may vary so far as the existence of a God is concerned. Buddhism is a religion that does not believe in God. Hinduism is a religion that believes in many gods. So in this way, religions can be divided. But so now the question comes, what is the common factor in which we can take all religions to one bracket, in one bracket? So here comes the question of a religious harmony, and that is the value, that is the human value. So Madam beautifully said that common harmony is humanity and spirituality. We cannot, we may belong to any religion in the world, whether it may be Islam or Christianity or Hinduism or Sikhism, any religion. But without humanity and spirituality, we cannot think of religion. There is no religion without spirit, because religion means we have to be spiritual. Spiritual does not mean that we should believe in the soul or believe in God. Spiritualism means the synthesis between spirituality means when we think of our total being, when we think of the past, present, and future, when we synthesize between science and philosophy, when we have tolerance for all types of views, that is spiritualism in the very broad sense. So humanity and spirituality, these are two main things in which way all religions of the world can be harmonized. They may differ in practices, rituals, they may differ in customary values, but cardinal values are same. All religions propagate ahimsa, all religions propagate the cardinal values like love, compassion, forgiveness, sacrifice. These are common to all. So by that way, we are harmonized. Human beings are harmonized. So because religion is a human possibility and it is based upon faith, our beliefs may differ from person to person, from community to community, from religion to religion, but there are certain points by which all religions and all human beings are harmonized. That is the point that is my observation. Thank you. Now, we have one question from Sabani Mishra. Madam, are you hearing? Am I audible? Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Madam, am I audible, madam?
Yes, sometimes you are and sometimes you are not, because it's raining here and therefore I cannot get the voice clearly.
Okay, madam.
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes I can hear you.
Okay, madam. Then I can pass questions to our Dr. K.M. Narayana sir on your behalf.
Sure. Yes.
Acha, okay. She fails to hear. So,
No, Pramod sir. Okay, Pramod sir.
okay,
Hello.
sir.
Okay.
Sir.
Okay. Okay, please pass the
Hello.
question to
Yeah.
pass the question to Dr. Bharti. Then to sir. Pass the question to Dr. Chakravarti.
Acha, madam, the question is, hello, madam, am I audible? Madam, are you hearing me or not?
Hello. Sometimes you are, because it's weather is not good here. And therefore sometimes you are audible.
Okay.
Sometimes you are
Okay.
not.
Okay, madam. The question is, how can we motivate common people to maintain religious harmony? Common people.
Sorry, can you please repeat for me once again? I'm very sorry.
The question is, how can we motivate common people, common man, to maintain religious harmony?
Okay. How to maintain this religious harmony? Is it the question?
By the common people.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much. Okay, what I say, what sir said, I missed a lot. I'm very sorry. I could not hear. That was very painful for me. But maybe Dr. Ghosh sir, I could see the name here. That was Ghosh sir, I hope, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right? Hello, am I right?
Yes, Dr. Ghosh. After
Yes,
Dr.
yes.
Ghosh, okay.
Okay, thank you for the question. But whatever little bit I could hear, you wanted to know that how religious harmony, that answer I could hear from Pramod sir also. Pramod sir also somewhat said the same thing which I wanted to say. But I just want to conclude it, because this answer, the answer that someone asked me now, and your answer would be the same. Because what I feel is what Dr. Radhakrishnan says. He was a firm believer in spiritual reality in which all mankind is one, anchored in the reality of the spirit. He advocates what he calls the religion of the spirit that I mentioned. And again, I also quoted religion of rites and rituals. Therefore, he says religion of the spirit. And this religion of the spirit implies negatively not religion of dogmas, rites, and rituals that constitutes external framework and distinguishes one religion from other, but their essential spirituality, because of which there is oneness in them. And again, for the answer of the second question, what I could hear, I do not know whether I heard that properly or not. But anyway, in answer to that, I would like to say that spiritual orientation is the greatest need of the hour. For it alone, not anything that stresses on relative values can usher in this era of peace, happiness, friendliness, fellow feeling. Because what we find all over the world is selfish barbarism instead of civilization. Until and unless we distinguish between the material and the spiritual values, and our way of thinking is anchored in greatness and sublimiting of the spirit, there is no hope to be liberated from trammels of behavior that we get to see rampant world over. That is it.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Madam, the next question is,
Hello.
hello, madam, are you audible?
Yes, I could little bit. Yes.
The second question is asked by Renumala Sundaraya madam. The question is, what are the common virtues in every religion? What are the common virtues in every religion? What are the common virtues in every religion?
Yes, that is the same. And I think Pramod sir, I could hear little bit, has already mentioned that. Why do you want me to tell it? The same thing I would say. Everything that one needs to have all the values.
I just waited for you.
Because theological religion is there which centers around God. God is the center of those religions. But there are religions which center is not God for them. But certain things are common. What is that? That is the same thing. The ethical values. That is the same. Ethical principles, ethical upliftment, perfection is considered sufficient for the achievement of the destiny. Am I audible? I do not understand.
Yes, audible.
Yes, you are audible, quite audible.
Thank you so much.
No, but more specifically, how would you identify? One, you can say two will do. One is the love of humanity, and the second one is tolerance. If these two are present, as Dr. Rao mentioned it, I think religious harmony can be established. Okay, so the thing is to inculcate religious harmony in the common masses. It is just not impossible. It is not our philosophers' work. It is the work of the politicians. So that is the main aberration of the religion and the organized religion. That means we are discussing, trying to give one, trying to enter into the spirit of religions, but they just take the prima facie things of the religion, taking some practices associated with certain religions, and they try to propagate that and confuse the masses with this thing. That is why the problem and disharmony, discord is there in Indian society very much. Pramod Babu will, I think Pramod sir will.
Yes, I will just add something to the remark of Dr. Ghosh and Dr. Rao, that science does not give us any scope for our privacy. For our privacy means we have to accept scientific research or scientific knowledge or scientific experiments unanimously. That means we cannot deny, I shall accept gravitation and you will not accept it. It is not possible in science. So this is the nature of science. But religion, to some extent, philosophy gives us that freedom that we can speculate at our own choice. Therefore, there are many philosophies, there are many views. And maximum freedom is given by religion, that we can maintain our privacy. We can believe our favorable gods and goddesses. We can belong to any religious community. We can adopt any religious practice. That privacy is with us because its asset is faith, not experiment or religion. So when our faith is concerned, we have that privacy, that freedom to to have our own own affinity, own love and attachment for any system of a belief. But so far as the religious harmony is concerned, the cardinal values cannot be compromised by, cannot be ignored by any of religion, because if it will be that, then there will be no existence at all. Because everything is meant for human existence. Science is meant for human existence. Philosophy is meant for human existence. Religion is meant for human existence. And human existence possible if there is restoration of values. So values are same. Which values? The cardinal values, not the customary values. Customary values may vary from religion to religion, place to place, person to person, community to community. They may vary. But what are these cardinal values? It is not only tolerance. Tolerance is a value that should be. If you are not tolerant, you are not a man of religion. That intolerance is not a religious quality. Tolerance is the religious quality. If you are not tolerant, then you are not non-violent. You are violent. Intolerance is violent. So far as the cardinal values are concerned, we all human beings belong to one universe. Vasundhaiva Kutumbakam means that. Because so far as the cardinal values are concerned, we all human beings are same and we come under the same folder. But religion has also, at the same time, religion has also given us freedom to worship our choice gods and goddesses, to follow our choice rites and rituals, to belong to a particular community, etc. and etc. In that way, we are free, but we are not free from cardinal values. Love is common for all, whether he is a Christian or Muslim or he is Hindu. Sacrifice, compassion, these are common values that has been cherished by all religions. This is my answer to also Shabani Mishra and Renubala Sundaram madam. That is the common for which are.
Shall I add one thing? Hello, shall I add one thing? Yes, you see, Vivekananda and Radhakrishnan, both of them, they have talked about this scientific interpretation of religion. And Radhakrishnan says that philosophy is the theory and its practice is religion. So in that way, I think both of them, they have tried to give religion as a type of non-empirical science, as Husserl in his phenomenology has done. So I think we can extend it to that point, so that we can find that what actually was there in their mind, especially Vivekananda and Radhakrishnan. I think Pramod, Dr. Das could get this point.
Yes, sir. Not only Vivekananda and Radha, anybody, you and me too, you and me can interpret religion our own way, and that in that sorts of interpretation can come under the subject philosophy of religion. But we are not discussing that. Philosophy of religion is there where you are free to interpret religion from different standpoints without harming, without causing any harm to the beliefs and disbeliefs of any community. Because this is interpretation. We can interpret philosophically. So what Radhakrishnan said, they will speak because they are philosophers. And you can interpret, I can interpret, Shankaracharya can interpret, Buddha can interpret, all can interpret about religion. Interpretations are there, and that comes under the branch of philosophy of religion. But so far as the religion comes under as the first order activity, religion, interpretations about religion come under the second order activity. When religion comes under as the first order activity, we are much concerned with it. And there are so many cardinal values. If we shall take all values into one umbrella, that is humanity. Man without humanity loses manhood. So there is no religion without humanity. If there is any religion without humanity, that is no human, that is no religion at all. Suppose you say terrorists or some village people who are indulged in dogmatic practices, they cannot be called religious people because they are far away from humanity. Any sort of religion that is far away from humanity, whether he is Vivekananda or Radhakrishnan or any great philosopher, he cannot be called as a religious person because our interpretation cannot reject, cannot underestimate, and cannot undermine the cardinal. So I agree with Vivekananda. I agree with Radha. They are may vary, and views also may vary from each other. But so far as religious harmony is concerned, we shall stick together because values are same. Your love is not different from my love. Your sacrifice is not different from my sacrifice. Your compassion is not different from my compassion. In that way, we are same. Your empathy is not different from my empathy. Therefore, we sit together and discuss what are our interpretations of them. That comes under. So everything can be discussed democratically. Democratically, I am telling you. Democratically. There is a democratical discussion about religion under the banner of a philosophy. But so far as the cardinal is concerned, there is no democracy. If more people will accept this right, no. Value for all. And humanity is such a value, no human being can take.
Right. It is as you have said, Vivekananda also accepts this. He says that we are individual human beings are not like mummies. They are not. They are different from each other. So that is there in his complete work. So so in that way he accepts the diversities. But in the diversities there is one unity. There is one. So the thing is that logically when we pose it, the unity, diversity, and harmony, these two are appearing to be similar, and again create some problem. That is what the problem is, because this harmony cannot be derived from uniformity, because you see, in each individual religion differs from other. So in uniformity, what we do, we take the same type of thing and then we generalize. So we arrive at uniformity. But here what happens, different religions have different, but the truth is one. That all will agree. All will agree what our sages have said, that ekam sat, that is there. So we cannot deny that. But the thing is, this problem, unity in diversity and harmony, these two things, clarification still is required. Okay, or else harmony will become
Yes,
a
sir.
slogan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Remain a slogan. Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Unity in diversity is the goal, and harmony is the means. Unity in diversity is the goal, and harmony is the means. If there is no harmony among religions, there cannot be unity in diversities. Because we experience diversities, our beliefs are different, our ignorance level are different, our knowledge level are different. So we experience diversity. But how can that unity be established? If and only if that religious harmony is present. So religious harmony is the means, and unity in diversity is the goal. That is the universal religion of Vivekananda.
Right.
I think so. I think.
Please invite Kalyani Das to speak because she wants to say something. Please.
Yes, madam. Please contribute your thought.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to keep my point here. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, yes, audible, madam, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, when we talk about religious harmony, one thing comes at first place, that is interreligious dialogue. It plays a very important role in restoring the religious harmony. Sir, I want to know what is the present status of that. Is it a failure? If so, then what can be the better alternative to restore religious harmony? Or in what way the so-called harmony can be established?
Madam, please respond. Hello, madam, please respond this question. Hello.
Pramod sir,
Yeah.
you repeat the question to madam again. Repeat the question of Kalyani Das. Okay, to
Yes,
madam.
yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir. Sir, I want to ask that interreligious dialogue plays a very important role in restoring religious harmony. What is the present status of that? Is it a failure? If so, then what can be the better alternative to restore religious harmony?
Hello. Madam, is Dr. Kalyani madam audible to you or not?
Hello? Hello, sir?
Could you hear Dr. Kalyani madam?
No, I couldn't. Sorry, sir.
Okay.
I could see the name, but I not get his. Kindly, can you tell lighting and all this are there?
Okay. Dr. Rao, please respond.
Hello?
Okay, madam.
Hello.
Okay, madam.
Hello?
Hello, she is asking whether interreligious understanding,
Yes.
what will be the basis of interreligious understanding? That is what she is asking.
Sorry, what is the?
Basis of interreligious understanding, because that is the prime requirement of harmony. So
I'm sorry.
Yes, you have mentioned about this, and we are also talking about this so long. That is empathy. That means we have to develop empathy for this inter-religious understanding. Unless empathy is there, the tolerance is there, we just cannot think that other point of view is also acceptable to us.
Exactly.
So this is probably.
Yes, sir. That is the answer. That is the answer. Interreligiosity will not be there if we shall follow the cardinal values altogether. Interreligiosity will not be there because we all belong to one religion, so far as the cardinal values are concerned. But so far as the customary values are concerned, we are different. Love of a Hindu and love of a Christian are not two different types of love. That is same. A Christian mother and a Hindu mother and a Muslim mother, their love for their children same. Sympathy is same. Empathy is same. Tolerance. Okay. So now, due to the network disturbance, the communication with madam is not getting possible. So now we shall wind up the session here. Okay. Now we have very less member left. So now I shall request. Now it is over to Dr. Kailash Narayan sir.
No, actually, yes. Okay, thanks so much. Actually, we will wind up the session. But before that, may I request Dr. K. Omna Rao to present a hearty vote of thanks to Madam and other participants.
So
Over to
thank
Dr.
you,
Rao.
Dr. Maharna. Once again, it was a nice lecture, but the network issues that we have in this virtual mode sometimes come as a great barricade for having a dialogue with the speaker when the speaker on the receiving end finds difficulty in listening to what the question writers have in mind. So it becomes an issue, well, in the virtual mode. But anyway, we had good responses from the other members in the group that include Professor Dr. Ranjit Ghosh sir, Dr. Pramod Das, and others who took part in this discussion and tried to answer the questions raised by the different participants. So that way, somehow we could manage, because because at the receiving end, Madam could not hear what we are speaking. So that was the problem. But if you take the entire webinar into account, I see a successful webinar because it has added up a lot of things to the treasure, I mean the knowledge treasure of all of us. And I should thank first of all Dr. Tapati Chakravarti for being with us, for accepting our request, and well, coming up with a very good lecture, touching on various points. She could have contributed more had it been the case that she could have had it been that there was no network issue and she was able to hear all of us, but that was not the case. But anyhow, this webinar is a successful one. I thank the speaker for a good lecture. Also thank the admin and the coordinator and the man behind this webinar, Professor Pramod Kumar Das, and also thank him for his observations on the issue. And my sincere thanks also goes for Dr. Ranjit Ghosh sir, who is always there with us with very nice observations. Really, philosophy family is thankful to Dr. Ghosh for his very good observations, and they add a lot of value to the entire course of the webinar. I'm thankful to all others who have raised questions in this platform. I'm very much thankful to them, and thankful to the participants. I'm thankful to Dr. Kala Chandra Maharana sir for coordinating this event, and above all those connected in this virtual platform for making this evening very beautiful and very nice one. So the question raisers, Renubala Sundarai, Sravani Mishra, and many others, I see greatly contributed to this webinar, and it was a very good webinar. I thank one and all for contributing to the success of this webinar. Thank you, everybody. Now over to Dr. Maharana for conclusion.
Okay, thanks so much, Dr. Rao, for nice observation and concluding remark. And hearty gratitude to Dr. Tapati Chakravarti for being with us in this evening. And over to Professor Pramod Kumar Das for the closure of the meeting.
We have special thanks for Rangpo sir for his contribution. We are all grateful to Dr. Ghosh sir. So we are equally grateful to now the meeting is over.
Madam, pranam again. Pranam.